On today's episode of Cars with Jay, I drive the Renault Clio RS 220 Trophy. Okay, let's begin with some specs. The 220 Trophy has a 1.6 litre turbocharged engine that produces, you guessed it, 220 brake horsepower. Well, more like 217 brake horsepower. In order to make it pop and bang, Renault have added a dual clutch gearbox, which has the added benefit of making the gear changes incredibly fast. Torque is significantly improved over its predecessor thanks to its turbocharger. It now has a torque figure of 280 Newton meters. This combined allows it to achieve 0 to 60 in just 6.4 seconds, and continuing on to its top speed, you will achieve a roughly 146 miles an hour. These cars can be purchased for around £15,000. You'll be looking at over 16,500 with cars with the Akrapovic system. Unfortunately, this example does not have one. That being said, I'm really eager to have a go behind the wheel, so let's get straight into it. Right, so let's talk about the interior first. So this car has got a few key differences than the older generation of Clios, and we're going to spot the difference a little bit. So first of all, paddles. This car no longer has a manual gearbox. It is the first Clio to not have a manual gearbox since any, really. They have never done an RS car with a dual clutch gearbox except from the latest Megane. However, this came out beforehand. So now we've got flappy paddles, and I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll get on to driving in a minute. So looking ahead of me, you've now got a digital speedometer, and I really like this. If you watched my Honda Civic FN2 Type R review, you'll know that I really do like it when they have a digital speedo right in front of you, because speed is not something that you really want to worry about. It's more about where you are in the rev range. So having it directly in front of you means that there's minimal distraction from driving. You can quickly glance down to see what speed you're doing, and it's all okay. There is no analog speedometer present at all, which is interesting. It's not the end of the world, but I'm really glad that they have kept the most important one, which is the Rev Counter. A lot of people go for digital Rev Counters, and personally, I don't like that as much. Looking at the rest of the interior, we have all of the necessities such as climate control and sat-nav. The layout is simplistic and is made with reasonably good quality materials as not to feel cheap. Down in the centre console we have now an automatic gear selector. Alongside that there is an RS drive select button, taking the car from normal to sport. The 220 does not come with an option for Recaros. Renault have decided to enhance the regular version of the Clio's seats. The only real benefit is that the seats promote comfortable driving over long journeys and have an adequate support for spirited driving. The comfort, however, takes away from the sportiness, and I would have preferred Renault to have the option for Recaro buckets, like Clios of old. The speaker system in the car is mediocre at best, and the base reflex logo looks rather chavvy in my opinion. So now that we've covered the interior, let's take this car for a spin and let's see what it's all about. So what I'm really eager to find out about driving this car is my first impressions of it, and I've driven a few cars now, like the Mark 7.5 Fiesta ST, which I think predominantly is its main rival, and I want to know how it compares to that. Is it as enjoyable with this dual clutch gearbox? Now, just setting off, you're in automatic by default, which is nice. It means the car, you can use it every day, and not to forget, it's based off an ordinary Clio, which is designed to be a car you can use day in, day out, and the RSs are no different. This car hasn't compromised its drivability by adding harsh suspension or harsh Recaro seats or removing weight by getting rid of creature comforts. It's well spec'd, it's comfortable, it's easy to drive. So that is really apparent when you get in the car and drive it immediately. You almost don't know you're in an RS car, which for some people can be quite annoying, because if you spend £15,000 on something like this, or even £19,000, I've seen one for sale, you want something to feel a bit special, but it's okay. It doesn't really matter that much. So just setting off in this car, it's reminiscent of like a Audi S3 or an A45 with their DSG or whatever Mercedes-Benz call their dual clutch gearbox. And it's quite nice actually. It feels quite luxurious and really upmarket just having the dual clutch gearbox, because I'm effortlessly pressing the throttle. It knows what gear to be in, it knows how much oomph to apply, and it just makes building up speed seem so effortless. And I really like that about this car. So you don't really notice that the manual's missing, but what do we really care about? We care about the driving experience. Does this car really connect with the driver? And in the previous RSs, having a manual gearbox was all part of that connection. It all added together to make one recipe that was a driver-focused car and a driver-eccentric car. But what about this car? Well, let's put it into sport mode and let's see what it can do. So let's press the sport mode, and immediately you feel the steering firm up, the car's downshifted the gear, and let's put it into manual. So we're now in third, let's put it in second. Wow. Honestly, wow, I was not expecting that in the slightest. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my foot down and let's see how the car reacts if, say, you want to overtake someone. Slight delay there, but as you can see, the car's now picking up in speed and it really does get going. Wow, have to say, that is absolutely crazy. I know I may seem like my expression's a bit fake right now, but I was really not expecting the car to react like that. Pressing sport mode immediately stiffens up the steering wheel and you get so much sharper throttle response. The change is so noticeable. Wow. I feel like this is a really engaging driving experience, but it gives you something different to what the older generation of Clios do. It's a modern interpretation of what a hot hatch should be. It's got a dual clutch gearbox, it's now a turbocharged engine, but there was no lag whatsoever. Let's talk about the way this car drives, because we know Clios have always been fascinating cars to drive. They're really driver involved. So what we're going to do is press the RS button to go into sport. We're going to now put our foot down and we're going to see how the car reacts, and immediately it picks up ferociously, going through the gears really quick, and on this tight twisty country lane, exactly where you want to kind of drive this car, you just got all the bends. One thing that's noticeable is that the steering firms up nicely. It's a lot heavier now actually. The brakes are really spot on, and honestly you don't realise the speed that you can get up to so quickly. Wow. I don't think Renault at all have missed a beat with this car, because it is still just a fantastic car to drive. And honestly, it gets up to speed in no time. You really don't notice any lack of power in this thing. It is really where the car wants to be. They've made a really well-balanced car. It's honestly fantastic. Changing sport mode really does change this car. I mean, just putting your foot down, the car reacts so quickly. It's really quite fascinating. And on a tight, twisty lane like this, you honestly don't have time to even remember what gear you're in, and just knowing that the car is always prepared for what scenario is just fantastic. I feel really involved and I'm really enjoying this, which is what the car is designed to give you. And I feel like with this car, Renault, what they've done is they've created their modern interpretation of what a hot hatch should be. It's no longer manual, it's no longer naturally aspirated. It's taking what it can from newer cars, such as turbocharging technology and dual clutch gearboxes, and implementing them in something that honestly you would never expect to have this kind of tech. And it feels like more enjoyable than an Audi S3 on roads like this, because it's still front wheel drive and you can really feel the back end come loose when you go into the brakes. It is honestly really good. The steering is no longer hydraulic, it is electric, and my god, have they got the weighting just right, because it is just, honestly, I have a lot of control, and it does take a lot of effort, because it's not light as you'd expect, and which is what I like. All these newer cars, everything's too easy, and I really feel like the balance on this is just spot on. That was really, really enjoyable. And you're probably wondering why I didn't use the pedals through that scene, and that's because I didn't really feel like I needed to. I mean, the car was always in the right gear and it was always primed. Me using the pedals really didn't need me to use the pedals or tell it to be in whatever gear. The only time the pedals really come into fruition is when you want to overtake someone or you want to prime the car for sudden burst of acceleration, or if you're just showing off and want to do your crackle and pops, which is another benefit of dual clutch gearboxes. Although I'm not too into that sort of thing unless you're in a tunnel or going through the Alps or something like that. I have to say, please try this car if you get a chance to. Don't knock it. It's one of those cars that's don't knock it till you try it. It is a different level of excitement and a different genre of excitement than what you'd get in a Honda or what you'd get in a older Clio. It just has the right amount of torque to get you going. It feels effortless, and just driving it every day, if you take it out of sport mode, it's so nice. It quietens down. You've got radio, you've got sat nav, you've got heated seats if you spec it, and you can even spec an Akropovich exhaust system for this car, which this car doesn't have. But even the stock system, it sounds ferocious. It really does sound quite good, and it feels well built. It feels really nice to drive. I really, really do like this car. So then, that's the Clio 220 trophy. What a car. I was not expecting this car to deliver such performance like it did on my test drive. And I must say that it's left an impression on me, and it's definitely educated me and definitely met the metaphor of do not judge a book by its cover, because honestly this car is absolutely amazing. If you get the chance to drive one of these, I 100% recommend that you go and do so, because forget that it's turbocharged, forget that it's a 1.6 litre, and forget most importantly that it has a dual clutch automatic transmission, because it is with the modern times and it works so well. The driver involvement is still there. You feel like you can concentrate on the road a lot more. It's one less thing to think about, and that's really important. The older Clios, yeah, they do give you that driving feel, but that's only because they don't have the extra horsepower and you really have to fight the car with them. This car at 220 brake horsepower and 242 Newton meters of torque, it really does feel like it's enough. It's not too fast that you feel like you're building up too much speed, and it's not too slow that you kind of think what you have to do and you kind of sit there going, oh, I wish I had a gear to change. It is just on the right type of road. It is honestly a really well balanced car, and Renault really do know what they're doing in the RS department. So don't judge a book by its cover. If you can test drive one of these, definitely do so. And if it's a car that you're looking for, a car that you can use every single day, have, you know, a bit of fun on the country lanes, and if you want to like pop and bang and go under tunnels and enjoy that aspect of it, it will give you all of that, and all of that at a reasonable price. So it definitely, from me, it gets a massive thumbs up.
Really?
I took it up this road. Have you ever been left out here?
No.
Wow.
Nice road.
The road quality is not nice, but the way it's shaped is f***ing amazing. Sorry, swearing. It's not like this. It's like it's not like a gravel road. It's normal road, but it's just not been looked after the tarmac.
All right.
And that's where this car really came to life. Honestly, wow, wow. Yeah, I felt so connected with the car. It honestly was so much fun. I didn't even have it in manual mode because to be honest, what's the point? The car already knows what gear it needs to be in to give you optimal performance. And there's no point intercepting that with your own thoughts, because you're not going to, the only thing it's good for, which I showed in the video, was that it's good for priming the car for an overtake, or if you wanted to do a pop and bang. Other than that, you don't need to touch it, which in some ways is good that the pedals are fixed and far away, because you don't really need to be actively involved with them. However, I said that in my opinion, I do like it when pedals are fixed to the wheel, because you don't have to find them. You don't have to fish for them. You just know that my hands are at 10 to 2, you're taking it left and right, and you know that where they are, exactly where they are. And to be honest, that's just a personal preference kind of thing. With this car, Renault have really done well. Honestly, as a daily, I just love how it switches character. It just goes from like a normal car
honestly,
to something crazy.
This is exactly why I got it, because it's a really good daily.
It just doesn't look as like aggressive as the other Clio, like the 182, well, the 197 and the 200. It feels like a step back in that respect, but the design cues of this car kind of remind me of the Clio 182. It's curvy, it's a bit small, and it's interesting that they don't do a 3-door variant of this car. It's 5-door only.
But then that's because everything's going in that direction. Everybody wants, you know, their practicality along with it.
I commented the fact that the 3-door is 3-door car sales have gone down massively, and that 5-door cars have gone on the up. And to be honest, this car doesn't actually feel like a 5-door when you drive it. You still have like loads of room.
Yeah.
It feels very hatchback like, and you can tell by the way they designed the door handle in the top.
Yeah,
it's just
they
kind of
wanted to look still 3-door-esque.
Yeah, it has those design cues of just having the door handle up here, having a nice smooth rear.
It's like the Leon, the previous Leon.
Yeah, of course, it's like what they wanted to do with that. I mean, this car's much prettier than that. Honestly, it is fantastic, and even without the Akropovich gearbox, it just sounded, the Akropovich exhaust system, it still sounded raspy, it sounded really enjoyable from the cabin.
Yeah.
I don't know on this car, can you synthesize the sound with the system?
Well, yeah, you can do. Have you tried the V6 and all that stuff?
No, I haven't. So this has got the speaker thing where it puts sound in.
Try the space mode.
Yeah, have you tried the space mode?
No,
we'll have
to do that. Because you do this.
That's so weird.
Clio Cup car?
It's got quite a delay to it actually.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like that.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this video of Cars with Jay. If you really like the video, please hit that like button below. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe, because we've got a lot more cars like this coming to the YouTube channel. I want to say a big thank you to the Driven UK. Please check out their Instagram page and their YouTube channel, which is, the details will be down below. Without them, I wouldn't be able to review this car, and I'm really grateful for it. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.